Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you are watching this video presentation by myself, Ravi Nahar, the founder of Ramayana Decoded. Today's video presentation is on churning the ocean of milk, the spiritual scientific interpretation. And this particular incident, if you don't know about it, I can guarantee that you have seen it and you will remember it when I show you the pictures, is very closely related to mythology. But I kid you not, this whole entire process or event is nothing to do with mythology. There is a very deep spiritual and scientific message which the illumined rishis of ancient India had encoded into this particular incident. And I am going to show you how and where and how this can be practiced at both the Devic level of interpretation, which is the astral yogic spiritual science, and the atomic level of interpretation. But before we do that, just very quickly, Remind Decoded can be found on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Do subscribe to YouTube because we upload daily videos. Thinktree Hub is a UK company which accredit our courses for what we call continued professional development points. So you get a certificate as part of it. And also Zoom. I hold weekly or bi-weekly live webinars in which you can interact with me on a topic of interest. So most of what we offer is free except for the Kriya Yoga meditation lessons. They are available through Thinktree for a yearly membership or by paying Remind Decoded a Guru Dakshina or a donation via our PayPal account. And also the book, the digital book, the Remind Decoded book, which I'm not revealing the title yet, should be available to you towards the end of this year. The WhatsApp group, which I get asked a lot about from a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook, is only now available to the Kriya Yoga students or the long-standing members of Ramayana Decoded. Anyways, let's get down to churning the ocean of milk. Now, you're looking at this picture and you're probably thinking, I've seen this before, but how is it related to anything spiritual or scientific? This picture here, I like this picture. I've chosen to use it, but it looks very oriental. However, we're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss what the spiritual and scientific meaning of this particular event or picture is. And what I want to do is start off by referring to a sutra in the Yog Vishesht. The Yog Vishesht says, O Ram, just as the ocean of milk became still when the Mandhara mountain became still, even so the illusion of samsara comes to an end when the mind is stilled. Now, there's a very deep, hidden, spiritual and scientific message in there, and I'm going to decode that for you, and I'm going to show you how this particular sutra refers to everything in here. When I look at this picture on the right hand side of the screen, I see the entire practice of Kriya Pranayama and all the goodness that comes out of it. So the Kriya Yoga lessons which are taught through Ramayana Decoded refer exactly to everything that's within this picture. It's about balancing your spiritual and your material life and all the good things that come out of it as a result of practicing Kriya Yoga, as a result of churning the ocean of milk, things like Lakshmi coming out of it. So let's have a look at this and break the sutra down in relation to the churning of the ocean of milk. So I've highlighted some key words there that I want you to focus on the left-hand side. Words like ocean, Mandhara mountain, samsara, mind is stilled. So when we look at this picture, you can see there's a mountain in the middle, the Mandhara mountain. The Mandhara mountain, esoterically, internally, at a spiritual level, represents the Shushamna, or the astral spine of the astral body. The asuras on the left hand side and the devas on the right hand side represent what we call the pran and the apan. Now, in Vedic literature, it is said that there are around 49 different types of airs. specific life force energies. They're not really airs. The air is more or less the link between your mind and this life force energy, which is even more subtle. And there are 49 different types. Now, out of those 49 different types, 5 are the most important, and these are Pran, Udhan, Vayan, Saman, and Apan. And they also relate to the various centers of consciousness or the chakras. So, for example, Pran is related to the Agna chakra between the eyebrows. Udhan is related to the Vishuddhi chakra. Vyan is related to the Anahata. Samana is related to the Manipur, and Apana to the Savastidhan. Those 5 chakras or 5 centers of consciousness, or that is where they will operate their airs. These two on either side, the Asuras represent Apan and the Devas represent Pran. So the Pran is the cool air that you breathe in when you're doing the higher technique of Kriya Pranayama, and Apan is the hot air which comes out of the body when you are practicing um, internal Kriya Pranayama or Pranayama, the hot air which goes out. And the Vasuki Nag is representing the Kundalini Shakti. Now, what happens is this. So if we go back onto the left-hand side of the screen, O Rama, just as the ocean of milk becomes still. So the ocean of milk is the internal consciousness which exists inside you and without you. Now, modern day scientists, particularly quantum consciousness or quantum physics, have this theory known as the unified field theory. And the unified field theory says that there is this level of consciousness where everything is singular, everything is the same, and out of this single consciousness or very subtle energy, everything else emerges from it that we interact with through our 5 senses. Now, what they also believe is that this level of consciousness also exists within us, and that here is referred to as the ocean of milk. Now, just as you churn milk to get butter, you're churning the internal ocean of consciousness. Your awareness and your consciousness right this very moment is sitting on the surface of your body and your mind, interacting through your sensory organs, which are imperfect because they can only pick up certain vibrations, certain levels, frequencies, and wavelengths. Only around 0.4% of an atom where all these energies are within. Therefore, 99.6% of reality we actually have no clue about. But when you start to churn this consciousness within you, what you do is you start bringing your brainwave patterns into more subtle levels. And this is what this picture is actually depicting. Because once you start doing this by moving the pran and the apan up and down the spine, up and down the Shushamana with the Kundalini Shakti, what you're actually doing is causing a friction between the Asuras and the Devas, going up and down, up and down, up and down. The Mandhara mountain is the spine in which you are moving these vayus. Now, a lot of people have this thing that they meditate, and meditation is not as simple as a lot of people believe it is. It's very, very difficult state to get into. However, what happens is that when you move the pran and the apan up and down, what you start to do is you start stilling the internal consciousness. It's no longer in any kind of movement, it becomes still. And the word samsara is actually referring to births and rebirths of past incarnations and ultimately what you are today. So in the Yoga Visheshta, I haven't wrote the sutra here, but the Yoga Visheshta also says that samsara arises when the mind becomes active and ceases when it becomes still. Still the mind, therefore, by controlling the breath and the latent desires. So I'm just going to pause there and let you think about what I've just said there for a few seconds, and just take in the picture and the wording on the left-hand side. So, okay, hopefully I've given you enough time to kind of grasp that. It is a very kind of a very deep science. However, as you move these values up and down, you begin to bring balance and stability or equilibrium of the various values which are operating within you and without you. And as a result of that, there are many things which come out of it. So when you're moving the Kundalini Shakti up through the chakras, through the centers of consciousness, and it sits in the Muladhara chakra, the lowest center of consciousness, which is related to basic instinct of survival and is related to lust and ego and envy. It's basically where Ravan, the ego, sits and captures the Kundalini and keeps her there in Lanka. When the Kundalini Shakti, Sitama, starts moving up through the Shishamna into the Brahmanari and moving through this very, very, very subtle tunnel, this vibratory, intelligent light and sound energy known as Kundalini Shakti starts to pierce the various different levels of chakras and they start coming into balance. At the moment, a lot of our chakras or centers of consciousness are out of balance. The churning of the ocean of milk brings those into synchronization. It brings them into a line which you can pierce through, or the Kundalini can pierce through the Shishamna. And some of the things which come out as a result of it is Lakshmi. So when you are in a more calm and collective state and you're in balance with yourself and the environment around you, you are able to make better business decisions. You are able to make better personal decisions. You are able to be more calm on a spiritual path. This is what Lakshmi represents. It gives you all of these things. It gives you riches because when you're making better and sound business decisions and investment decisions, you naturally start attracting success. That's where Lakshmi comes from. Now, there are many, many things that are coming out of this churning of the ocean of milk. Some of the things was such as the horse, which represents there's a very, very, very deep spiritual scientific meaning to it, but it's basically the fountain of electrical pranic energy which is coming from the top and flowing downwards. And the horse also represents what it comes with the chariot. So it's like Dasaratha, which I will go through in a different webinar. It's the various senses and the reins being the mind being attached through the senses, etc. But also what's really important, which a lot of people refer to, two really important things, is the Amrit of immortality and Nilkant, or the poison which Shiva had to drink. So the Amrit of immortality scientifically is actually within us, and it can be released through an advanced technique known as Khechari Mudra. Khechari Mudra is referred to in the lessons that are taught through Ramayana Decoded, but there is a baby step towards it as well, known as Talabya Kriya, which you can also practice, which leads to Khechari Mudra, which releases the Amrit of immortality within you. The other thing is the Nilkant. Shiva has a blue throat. Again, this particular blue throat is also related to the atomic level of interpretation and a very advanced technique of Kriya Yoga, which is only taught to very few students who are developing spiritually. What happens is that the breath comes in, but it doesn't go out. The poison is held in the throat. So if the breath is not coming out, where is it going? Now, that's the kind of stuff that we get into the nitty gritty of when we are having one-to-one sessions with Kriya Yoga students or as groups. So that's as much I'm going to say to you about the churning of the ocean of milk. There is a lot to take in there, and I hope that you enjoyed the presentation, and there will be others coming. Please make sure that you do subscribe to the Ramayana Decoded YouTube channel, because there are videos coming up daily. There are mantras and webinars like this, and hopefully at some point I will also do some live videos on YouTube. Thank you very much for your time.